Calling Arvada police officer Dylan Baukoff as we take a live look from Air Tracker 7 and the vehicle carrying Officer Baukoff's casket body to the Flatirons Community Church this morning. The veteran officer and Air Force veteran lost his life last weekend after responding to a large family disturbance.
And we have team coverage that we will be bringing you throughout this hour here on Local 3 and on Denver 7. Our team is along the procession route where people are already lining up to pay their respects to this hometown hero, Arvada native. And we are also joined by a former police chief, Aurora's Chief Nick Metz, who will provide us with some perspective on the impact these incidents have on law enforcement and the entire community.
Want to get started with Denver 7's Jessica Crawford, who is live along the procession route. We already see several first responder vehicles there behind you as they head to the church and come together to pay their respects.
That's right. So you can see here that really we have the street kind of blocked off as the procession was able to pass through. We were told it came through around 7:20 this morning. So right now we are seeing just a few people here. We saw about 3 women already come through. They were wearing their Back the Blue clothing, carrying a Back the Blue flag. I spoke with them. I said, "Are you here for Officer Baukoff?" They said, "Yes, we are," and they're standing by just so that they can be a part of the remembrance of him. And so this is just one part of everything that is happening here today. If you are passing through the area, do be mindful of the blockade right now, and also just of the people who will be along this route who are here to remember that officer.
Thank you, Jessica. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta is live where the procession will end in Lafayette as we continue to look at this from Air Tracker 7. The procession making its way with Dylan Baukoff's memorial. His casket is being transported to that memorial service by fellow officers right now. We expect fellow officers to speak at that service. And Veronica, we've already heard from some of the people who knew Baukoff. As we've mentioned many times, he was an Arvada native.
He was. We've heard from friends of Officer Dylan Baukoff, so many different people who spent time with him, whether it was in high school or whether it was a part of the Air Force. And already this morning, here right in front of the Flatirons Community Church, just within the past 10 minutes or so, we saw the streets close, and that means that procession is just getting closer and closer. People are starting to arrive here to line the procession route. And you mentioned all of those people who loved the late officer, who spoke to us, one of them being an Air Force friend who told us that Officer Dylan Baukoff was just the biggest light. He was full of energy.
I think they would describe him as selfless. I think they would describe him as joyful, positive, just a person who was enjoyable to be around. And if you had any sort of team, whether it was a Air Force team, like our great squadron we had out there, or as a member of the police force, he's the kind of guy you wanted on it.
We know that dozens of people stopped by the officer's squad car that was right in front of the Arvada Police Department. They dropped off flowers and notes, different mementos to help remember Officer Dylan Baukoff. And we likely will see a lot of people, again, lining this route. We already see a few officers here getting ready. We see the flag that's been draped by those fire department vehicles, those trucks, again, ready for that hearse to make its way here. And we know this memorial really is not only for the officer, but also to help support the family.
The whole process of this planning this memorial is driven by what the family wants, and everything else takes a second seat to that.
The memorial service, again, going to be right behind us at the Flatirons Community Church. We're going to keep you updated throughout the morning and, of course, let you know when we start seeing that procession right behind us. We're live in Lafayette. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
All right, Veronica, thank you. We will check in with you again here in a few minutes.
Well, when tragedies like these take place, our whole Colorado community feels the impact. It's great to see the community come together. We just hate it's under these circumstances. Of course, Officer Dylan Baukoff was an Arvada native. As we see his squad vehicle there in front of the Arvada Police Department, so many flowers and tributes and condolences that have been sent his way and for his family. And already we are seeing the procession with the police escort headed to Flatirons Community Church this morning. Former Aurora Police Chief Nick Metz joins us live in studio. Thank you so much for being here on a tough day for the law enforcement community. We know to give us some insight about what we're seeing, because this is a service of full honors. There are a lot of ceremonial things that go into it. Already we're seeing the escort to the church, and we've seen firefighters saluting on the bridge. Kind of talk about the scene right now before the service.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to thank all of you for taking the time to recognize the sacrifice that Officer Baukoff made. This is obviously a very somber day. And so this is when public safety professionals or emergency responders from not only all over the state, but we're getting folks from all over the country who are coming in to pay their respects to Officer Baukoff, his family, and the Arvada police family.
Yeah. We've heard so much from some of the people who knew Officer Baukoff being an Arvada native and being so young, of course, too. Can you talk a little bit about how this always impacts law enforcement? Why do we see them come from all over for services like this?
It's pretty simple, because law enforcement and fire and other public safety professionals recognize that could have been them. And so when they put that badge on every single day and their families say goodbye to them in the morning or in the evening, there's always that wonder, you know, is my loved one going to come home? Am I going to come home? So there's that shared worry, if you will, that shared sacrifice that everyone makes every day when we go out there and protect our communities.
That thin blue line.
The thin blue line.
And we know neighboring departments will likely assume the role for Arvada Police today, taking over those responsibilities. For these police departments, what kind of conversations do you have with your staff in the wake of a death like this?
That's one of the most it's one of the most difficult things for an agency to do, and if you're talking about Arvada itself, it's an unimaginable conversation. It's not anything that you want to have, and it's that you know, I can imagine the chief today just really trying to make sure that the family is given the care that they need, that the officers that Dylan worked with are given the support and care that they need. But this is when the law enforcement and public safety families come together. So, like you said, you know, agencies from all over the region are going to take the calls for Arvada for probably the next 24 to 48 hours. To let those officers just kind of decompress a little bit more, because obviously after the memorial, it's going to be a very difficult time, and it's going to continue to be difficult. But to be able to have a little bit of that break is going to be very important for them, and especially when you think about the fact it's only been 15 months since we lost Officer Beasley.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? And that was another Arvada police officer. So the Arvada Police Department has about 190 police officers. That's not a big agency.
No.
So everybody knows everybody. And this has hit them. I mean, it's just doubly rocked them from even last year.
Well, and we know the officers and the department rallies around the family too. The family of Officer Baukoff, who can only imagine what they're going through right now. He was so young, 27, and so that's an important part of your role after these happen.
Right. So we have an organization called Colorado Fallen Hero. We created that about 6 years ago, and unfortunately, we've deployed 11, 12 times now. So when we got the call on the morning of September 11th, you know, the first thing we immediately did was deploy not only to the Arvada Police Department to make sure that we could care for their command staff and the officers, but also sending what we call family liaisons to the home of the family to make sure that they're getting the care that they need, and start to educate them about what the next few days are going to look like, because it's not anything most people have ever gone through.
Right. Chief Metz, we really appreciate you being here, and he will be here with us through our coverage of Dylan Baukoff's memorial service.
Thank you, Chief Metz. We'll get back to you in a moment here. You can stay with us for the services today for Officer Baukoff. We'll be carrying that live on Denver 7 at 10 a.m., also on our Denver 7 Plus app, and we'll be streaming it on the website denver7.com. Lisa?
It is now just about 8:10, and for that procession this morning, we do have some really pretty weather there on the west side of town, getting up in through Jefferson County, right around Arvada right now, 56 degrees, plenty of sunshine, and some nice and calm winds. Skies are clear right now. You're going to find clear conditions really up and down the Front Range. Here right now, you can see some of the rain, though, hitting parts of northwestern Colorado, stretching from Craig, and pretty soon here, right in through Steamboat Springs and over Rabbit Ears Pass, we'll see some wet conditions there on the highways. Some of that wet weather is going to gradually move east. You can see from Vail Village still looking at some sunshine in through the central and southern mountains. Denver expecting a high of about 82 today, so it's going to be a little warmer. Slight chance for a stray shower or two. We have a much better chance of picking up a little bit of rain by the middle of next week. Jason, pretty hot and dry heading into the weekend, and we'll have your full Broncos game forecast coming up.
And right now the procession continues to roll down Highway 7 west of I-25. This is at the exit of I-25. Actually, the vehicles that were I-25 northbound was actually closed down for a short time so they could hold traffic and allow the procession to come here to the Erie exit. It is just now the northbound traffic is open, and it's now creeping just past Northwest Parkway, getting up here to the Erie exit, and traffic will be flowing here in just another few minutes. But as you take a look at the map, we still have Highway 7 closed down from I-25 over to 119th. It turns into 120th here to South Boulder Road, and then as you take South Boulder Road, getting on over past Public Road and over to the church, that is all closed down and will be for the late morning and maybe even early afternoon. The rest of the drive up to the north side of town, pretty standard for you here this morning. Still busy in pockets out to the west side of town. This section of Colfax remains closed down because of a building fire, and we still have delays on both Bellevue and Hamden from crashes over to the southwest side.
And one more live look at the procession and law enforcement officials saluting the procession for Arvada police officer Dylan Baukoff as his casket makes his way to Flatirons Community Church for a memorial service to remember his sacrifice and his contributions to the community. Our team coverage continues after the break.